He's terrible. He's trying to avoid getting in front of the camera.
No. I want to make sure my glorious face is in focus.
Yeah. So it's a very, very special day today. I have dragged my videographer kicking and screaming out from behind the camera and onto my sofa. But today we just wanted to do a review of the things we've shot so far. This isn't us interviewing each other. I just want to be really clear about that as well. This is us
Sort
talking.
of revisiting what we've done.
Yeah.
And seeing what we've taken from it.
And then kind of delivering it back to everybody, so you can see we're just kind of pulling the curtain back. You and I have been talking about it for about 3 years, haven't we?
Yeah, it's been something that I've been thinking about for a while. But it was always this sort of like nebulous idea of like, I want to hear people talk.
And I also want to get people in front of the camera and interview them and make them look like total rock stars. Of course, Morgan is a rock star, but
It helps.
yeah, which helps. Well, sometimes it's been something massive, like with Tracy, that massive incident that blew up
Right.
for her, and
yeah.
like where she ended up being all over the internet because of
It's like death threats.
a mistake, and she was having death threats and being called all kinds of names and being
Right.
trolled relentlessly
Right.
on the internet. Like, I just thought that was so compelling, but that's just one part of somebody's full story. It's not life coaching because that's different, but it
Right.
is that kind of asking a question and then letting things come out and be seen in front of us, between us, in the space between us, and then working with that and taking it, and then you take it and edit it and pull out the best bits.
Right.
And I just completely hand over trust to you for that. What are you laughing at?
A lot of people will talk about editing like it's assembling a puzzle. And I think that's not actually a helpful way of thinking about it.
Okay.
And I talked about this with Morgan.
Amazing.
Because when he performed for me, I felt it was like watching a witch conjure a spell. And like what's cool about like witchcraft, if we're going to extend that metaphor, is like you have all these like odd ingredients and you throw them in and like something comes out of it.
Yeah.
And like I want to get this response from somebody watching it.
Yeah.
What do I do with these ingredients to get what I want?
It's amazing.
It's really cool.
Oh
And,
my
like,
God, I love it. And
Yeah.
and I think that coaching's a bit like that as well, actually. You kind of have to pull all this stuff out and get the ingredients out and then start to kind of work through it. It's that
Right.
kind of what Elizabeth Gilbert and many other people call the muse. And it visits, and you have to be there and ready for it. We were talking about this earlier about delivery. Oh, should we name drop? Go on.
Well, I mean, okay.
Hey, you need to calm down.
Oh, God. So,
So-
I have spent part of the past year reassessing a problematic figure who will go by the name T Swift.
T Swift?
Yeah. She gave it's called a Tiny Desk concert, which NPR has been doing for several years. NPR is like the American equivalent of the BBC.
Okay.
And they'll have just musicians come and like perform behind this tiny desk. They'll do like stripped down versions of their songs. Like
Yeah.
Lizzo did one. Taylor Swift did one. And during the Taylor Swift one, she talks about how some days you show up to the studio and like a song just dumps out of you in like 5 minutes and it's there. And other days you show up and it's not happening and you just, that's where craftsmanship and practice take over. 'Cause you've done
Artistry.
it's part of it, yeah. And it's not like the muse coming down from on high. This is those moments where it doesn't happen. And you just have to sit there and
Squeeze that.
pound away
Yeah.
at this, like, whether it's a keyboard of the musical type or the computer type.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to do the work.
2 of my phrases for the year, which I thrashed out with my coach, are to deal with professionals and not to cut corners. So then it's like, okay, who's in? You're in. You're in. I'm sorry.
This is the level of professionalism that we offer.
But you've got to have a sense of humour with it as well.
Yeah. Otherwise,
So,
what are you doing?
I know, exactly. Full disclosure, we were talking about, like, I had a very weird year last year where I think I had a small breakdown. I was definitely in some kind of depression.
Yeah.
This is not a bleeding hearts thing. This is just a fact. I felt like I was having a break with reality. And in the middle of that, I kind of let the business slip a little bit. And then, my kind of COO, basically, my chief operations officer, was like, we need to start marketing. I didn't feel like I could do anything. The Muse wasn't even in my neighborhood, never mind anything else. But I had to sit down and write copy. I still had to show up for my coaching sessions as well. And it's at times like that, which is a kind of slightly exaggerated version of what we've just been talking about together, which is, regardless, I still need to bring my skills and my savvy to the table, show up for my coaching clients. But the other thing is, I literally have to sit at the computer and say to myself, you're going to write copy now. You know how to write it. You know what to do. It doesn't matter whether you're feeling it or not, whether you're feeling inspired. You know what you can do.
Right.
You know how to write a marketing campaign. You know how it needs to roll out. Sit at the computer, type the words.
Yeah.
You know the words.
Yeah.
You know what the words are.
Yep.
Just type the words. You don't need to feel it. And of course, when you're in like a depression, you start questioning your authenticity. You start questioning this, that, and the other. Your ego's like yanking at you the whole time. I have to call upon humility and grace and mercy for myself and just say, you know that whoever gets into your coaching room is going to benefit.
Right.
So because you are a set of techniques and set of skills.
Yeah.
And that's kind of slightly different to the sorcery. No, it's not, because you have to be in the room to create the sorcery, and it can still happen.
You have to harvest all the herbs before you can cast the spell.
Ooh.
There are all these like unseen steps.
Yeah.
It's not like we just go in, slap down a camera, and just start recording. Like, there are questions beforehand. We talk with the people. We see what they want to talk about, how they want to present their story. It's not just we sit down, we go, we roll. No. And it's not like, the video magically appears afterwards.
No.
Like, the magic is the exciting part.
Yeah.
But the harvest and the planting, the reaping, the sowing, all that, that has to happen.
I'm thinking about like Tracy's interview. She talks about how even when she was in hospital just after she had her baby, she was still doing things, right? And Morgan talks about this as well, and this is an interesting one. In part 1, he talks about how he had this massive party, and then he went to the Ritz-Carlton because he just had enough. He decided he was going to move to India. He went back to his house, and it was an absolute tip. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
And he just goes, and that's when I realised that I had to do things in the real world. And I just love that. And there are things we have to do in the real world to allow everything else to happen. The idea that we can be artists and just kind of move through the world waiting for magic to happen is abject nonsense.
Right, because then it's an unrealistic expectation to other people who want to create stuff.
Correct.
Like, if we thought about just doing this, and I think this video is actually really, I'm not going to lie, this is difficult for me.
Yeah, I know, babe.
I'm
so proud of you. You're doing so well.
But I'm also just thinking about, like, okay, normally I'm here watching the focus on these 2 cameras. Normally I'm checking the audio levels.
Yeah.
Part of my brain right now is thinking of all the ways that shit can go wrong with what's happening and no one's monitoring it.
Yeah.
And it's difficult for me to get out of that headspace right now.
Yeah.
Saying that is good for people because there is a ton of work that goes into this.
Yeah.
And we only see, we see the 30-second commercial. We see the 30-minute interview that we've done. We see the 2-hour movie. We don't see the months and the years that go into making these things.
Yeah.
People do this because...
Compulsion.
Yeah. It is. It's a compulsion.
There's something more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird to say that because it seems almost unhealthy to call it a compulsion.
The question that came into my head, and we kicked this off during the time when I was a bit depressed, was like, who are you? who the hell are you to do this?
Like
and
you yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Who the hell is Sarah Faruya to do this? And I'm like, because I want to.
Yeah.
I just want to do it.
Yeah.
The first person I'm going to ask is somebody who has a fascinating story and is also a really good friend, so she understands that this is the start of something.
Right.
And she's also somebody who knows the process of something.
Right.
So she allows magic to happen, but she also like has processes. She's a professional. So we just start.
Yeah.
But we also set it up with each other to say we'll go from, I think that was back in July maybe.
It was in May.
Whoa.
Because I know it was in the end of May. Because I then went to Montana in June, and like that's where a bunch of stuff happened in Montana, and like all of a sudden I just like, I think I sat down and just like cranked out both of Tracy's videos and was just like, okay, done. That was the beginning of like making the process that I could then use for the other ones.
Amazing. But I think that the mistake we made with the first one was the interview was way too long.
Oh my God.
We went on for 2 hours. Something's happening.
Why? Why? What did you do? Why did you stop? Hold on.
Well, it's ironic that we're talking about the mistakes that we make, isn't it?
Fuck me. I mean...
Okay, so I'm going to make you put this bit in here. So we were just talking about mistakes that we make, and as that happens, something happened over there. But this is what happens when you work with technology, right?
Well, and this is what happens when you work with unmonitored technology.
But I want to show the reality as well. Like, again, this is part of coaching, is to get people out of that kind of perfection mindset as well. You just can't have it to get anything done.
Right.
And to produce anything that's useful or fun or anything. Like, there's a level of natural waste, if you like, with anything. Shit. But also shit fertilizers, don't forget as well. So that's something that
my mother sent me that after she watched the Maya one. My mom just sent me the message, shit is fertilizer.
Did she?
Yeah. And I just laughed. I was like, oh, my mom is watching.
Your mom's watching?
My mom is watching.
Amazing. Hi, Mom.
So, but yeah, like I think there's a certain amount of acceptance that like you will fuck up. It just happened.
Yeah.
It just happened.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what do you do?
Even when you have everything lined up, even when you've got all your processes in place, you still you still have to factor into any process, any project, a margin of unknown things, a margin of fortune, a margin of luck, a margin of supernatural, a margin of things that you cannot account for.
Yeah.
That's something that I think has come through in Maya's video as well, when she talks about, you know, she was this person, this was going to happen at this age, this was happening at this age, this was happening at this age, this was happening, and you're very linear in that way. And she talks very, very candidly about infertility and how her plan took a U-turn, and I think that it's really well aligned with what we're talking about here. Our moment in that video when we got the full goosebumps and the eyes get a bit glassy was when she said that gyrotonic and the movement and gyrokinesis helped her to get back into her body.
Right. Her decision to share that, to be willing to kind of offer that as a piece of her story on the record, was really to know that someone is fully open and fully honest about what they've been through, what in their story matters to them, and what they want other people to realize, not just about them, but about themselves, like about yourself. And I think that was, I don't know, it was really, that's such a trite word.
Go on.
It was really special to sit in that space and to sit in all of these people's spaces.
Yeah.
Like I started by talking about how it feels to be like, to see a different world. But ultimately, I'm not seeing it. I'm in it. We're in it.
Yeah. You know, all these stories are universal. All these stories are universal. It's not just her story. It's not just Tracy's story, Morgan's story, Maya's story, Lindsay's story, Tia's story. They're all of our stories.
Right.
And there are pieces and details where you're like, I didn't realize that you can learn from people. I know most of the people who I've interviewed so far, but I learned so much more about them. Like, different, just from asking these questions, just for opening this space, and you are part of that, and anybody who's in the room is part of that, and anything that happens is part of that. Like the technology is part of it. It's part of systems coaching. It's like everything in the system is influencing the system.
But I think that also like opens the trust, and this is something that like after we finish interviewing people, I'll usually follow up with them by sending them a rough cut. I will look for notes from them to see what they want to change. And like every time there's just been so much trust on their parts. I think Lindsay, after the first rough cut, was just like, I trust you to do with it what you want. And I mean, it means a lot to me because it's a very intimate thing that she's sharing. Like there's footage of her like picking herbs in her garden that she has outside of her house. And like her chopping it up and serving it to her daughter. But what you don't see is when the camera cuts, she's also giving it to me. And like what it meant to be in that space and have her do that for me. The trust that goes along with that. And then to have her look at the first cut and just be like, oh, fine, take it.
I love that. I hadn't thought about it like that as well. So there's a real community element to this as well.
Absolutely.
And like feeding each other. I loved in her video, like, so that shift in the energy in the room part for her was when she was talking about what living in a 3-generation house had taught her, right? And what her mother-in-law had taught her. And it was just this sense of patience, and it was beyond patience, wasn't it?
We have that, like, what was the phrase? We have cultural inheritance. We have our upbringings, we have our parents, we have the areas where we grew up in. But beyond all of that, we have a choice. And like the shift in her interview was her realizing that she had made a choice. And I don't think she had fully realized what she had done until then. Because you make choices all the time. And you don't always realize that you're doing it. And I think in that moment, that was her realizing a choice she'd made years ago.
I don't think I've ever verbalized it like that either, so that was good for me too.
And sort of thinking about the consequences of that choice and the person it had shaped her into being. And like that moment, you see it in her face. Like the human face doesn't lie.
And those moments, those are my favourite moments in these videos. Like, we never try to orchestrate them, they just happen, right? They just arrive.
I hope so. For me, you and this whole project like came at a very good time because I was getting severely burnt out on the work that I was doing.
Like movies.
It was a lot of commercial work.
Commercials.
It was like big stuff, but on these big things you don't have a lot of creativity.
It sounds sexy, doesn't it? That I was on this, that, or the other.
Right. I think being able to like take these tools that I have, it like taps into some deep part of my brain that reminds me why I wanted to do this in the first place. The reason why these people are interesting to me is because they're out there, they're doing something that they're great at, and they love it. And that gives me the chance to do something that I am working at being great at. Not there yet, but like, I love it. There are times when I'll be editing these videos and it'll be like 2 a.m. and I'll just sit there and be like, oh, where did the day go? That came at the right time. Because I sat there and I wondered, why am I doing this? Why did I want to do this? What did this mean to me? Because you can get so deep in it that you've forgotten. And I think that sort of happened to a lot of the people we've interviewed. Like, Maya was so deep in her work, but she changed it to remind herself of this other part that she had been ignoring or not feeding or not paying attention to. Lindsay had always done body work in some way, but it wasn't until she could have that studio space in her house that she could like claim it and own it in a way that she hadn't before. Tia had taken photos and just like through a bunch of connections and like happenstance in the universe turned it into a business. And even Morgan, he ascended to the level of rock star And then he just sort of like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. And then he
hit
came
it
to
too.
Japan as an English teacher.
Yeah. He had to have those moments to remind himself why he loved music.
Yeah.
And he found it.
If we think about the people we've chosen to talk to, like with Tia, she's seeing people, so she's creating a kind of visual space for people to, you know, for my 1-year clients, everybody gets a session with Tia.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Everybody gets
yes.
Everybody.
That rules.
Because there's two reasons. One is because my 1-year coaching clients should have bloody good headshots.
True.
The other thing is you get to know yourself better when you have a photo shoot.
Is that what I'm doing right now?
Yes. And also I just think Tia's such a great person to be in the presence of. I love the story of her parents and just what a great family they are.
She has the family, her direct family, but then she also has that like community that she talks about. Her community and her way of sort of using her skills and using her technology to build that community and to give it more meaning than if it was just, you know...
without her in it.
Yeah.
It's back to this, there's a theme here. There's different pillars, aren't there, of what a really good, successful, meaningful life can mean.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just have to understand that not all people can be all things to all people.
I think that would be an unhealthy approach to any relationship.
I know, but you know what? I think people are like that all the time, and they often feel like their love partners should be all things to them, and that is an absolute shocker. Sorry if I just hit a nerve there.
No. I've been thinking a lot about this because, like, my main work is in an industry that, like, has survived on that.
On what?
On
money.
Peddling the idea that, like, one person should be everything to you.
Yeah.
If you just fix your hair, if you just have perfect skin, if you just have abs, if you just have this, then you will find that person and you'll never have problems again.
Yeah. I have abs.
Congratulations.
Yeah, but they're underneath this.
But it's like, it's the idea that this is who we are.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it? And I think what has made these interviews good for me is, like, it's getting past the bullshit of, like, put this toning water on your skin and you will find love, spiritual fulfillment, like, wealth, everything, and it'll be fixed.
Yeah.
And instead, we've found people who look in on themselves and have, like Lindsay, have made those choices to be themselves. I have routinely written, like, notes to myself from each of these interviews that I stick on my wall.
He sends me the post-it notes to show me what he's written on his wall.
But, like, Lindsay's...
Which one was it?
Quote about... and it's the two of you going back and forth. It's just, I want to be myself in the world, but with skill and control. And, like, that's what it is. That's what all these people are doing.
Yeah.
Is they're being themselves.
And it's a healthy control in that context. You have to put a layer between yourself, and it's that control.
Yeah.
It's that not just
going
out of a trigger, thinking, you know, in mindful agency, in mindful leadership, we call it notice, decide, and then act.
Mm-hmm.
Usually something happens and we just act. That notice first, and notice your physiological reaction. We're back to the body again.
Yeah.
And make sure you're in your body to recognise that, and then name it, and then decide what you're going to do next, and then act.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And no action is action.
Yeah.
So
it is.
Yeah. But it doesn't mean you don't have to be direct, right?
Right.
Because we have very direct conversations, and in the edit with the subject as well, we have very direct conversations, and that you can still be friends and still have a healthy relationship after that. I think sometimes people think that if you get too direct, then that's it.
Right.
We're done.
But, like, that directness, whether it's agreeable or not, has value.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether it's agreeable or not, it's like that kind of constructive conflict.
Sure.
Like, and letting that be there. I see a little twitch there.
No, I'm trying to think.
Process it.
Yeah, well, because again,
Me
like,
too.
it's, and I think, again, it goes back to me just wondering why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because it's possible to peddle illusions
Ho, ho, ho.
It's very easy to peddle illusions because we want them.
It's all illusion.
Yeah. Like, this will be cut in a way that I have deemed good or
Keep that in.
acceptable. Yeah, yes. This will be cut a certain way. You will be cut a certain way. There's a way that I could conjure the spell, to go back to that.
Yeah.
That would allow you to believe that, like, we have perfect conversations, that we... right, that everything is, like, this wonderfully constructed thing, that the camera didn't cut fucking randomly because I wasn't looking at it. You fucking... piece of shit. You also have, like, a minute left on this card.
Okay, well, let's wrap up.
What I hope these videos are to people is not an illusion that's been peddled, but like a glimpse into that world. A glimpse into that person's world, a glimpse into their life, a glimpse into what they value, the choices they've made, and who they choose to be in the world. That's what I hope they're getting.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. That's what I want. That means more to me than watching someone move their hair in slow motion.
Oh, I love you. You're a sage. You're a sage.
It took a while. It took a lot of therapy to get here.
Yes. Please put this in slow motion.
And you've got 19 seconds. What are you going to do with
Thank
your 19
you so much, Kyle. I
Yeah.
absolutely adored it. You're a sage. This is a peek behind the curtain. I hope you've enjoyed it. And please go watch all the videos we've mentioned.
Oh my god. 3, 2, 1. Oh man. Out. Both cards are full.